Hey, what is up, everybody? How we doing? Matt Moda here with OddsJam, here to give you some last-minute bets to hammer for Thursday night football tonight. So we got Bills versus Patriots. Should be a decent game, home game for the Patriots, division rivalry, obviously. So we can get into it, no use dilly-dallying. The first play that I'm going to lock in here that I really like is this Ramondre Stevenson over 4.5 receptions. So the play is at plus 100 at Betfred. The Novig odds that OddsJam calculates prices this to be at about minus 107, minus 107 and a half, something like that. Something like that. So the gap between these two numbers is obviously where you get your positive expected value from. The Novig odds, obviously very important. These numbers are pulled from the sharpest sports books in the world. So OddsJam back-tested betting opportunities, thousands of them, and use that data to determine over the course of time which sportsbooks consistently do the best job at pricing odds. And that's exactly where these Novig odds come from. So historically, these sportsbooks do the best job. We're going to use them to set the market moving forward. And there we have it, Novig odds that give us profitable betting opportunities when we can beat them. So in this case, we are beating it with the plus 100 at Betfred. All in all, equates to an EV percent, an expected value, expected profit of 3.6%. And that's kind of the math behind it. So obviously anybody that's looking at this can see the math within mere seconds of looking at the page. The additional work and research that I recommend doing it's not complicated, involve just clicking open the play and viewing where all the sports books price odds. So basically what we're trying to do here is look at the markets and see, okay, does this plus 100 at Betfred, and in general, is the positive expected value bet that we are placing, is it an outlier compared to the rest of the betting markets? Because we want to know, like, is this plus 100 at Betfred? How does it compare to the rest of the sports books? If it's an outlier, then that's something that should be bet. In this case, it definitely is an outlier and a good bet. Pinnacle. So actually, let me back up for a second. When betting on player props, there are 3 books that you want to look for as kind of like a way to set the market. Basically, if these 3 books are in alignment and the bet that we are placing is an outlier to those 3 books, that's a good bet. The 3 books are Pinnacle, which is the most important, sharpest sports book in the world, has this at minus 140, 40 cents higher than Betfred. That's great. Bet Online is the second one. Another very sharp sports book. They have this at minus 135, 35 cents higher than Betfred. That's great. And the third one is DraftKings. So in this case, DraftKings actually is kind of in the middle, right? They have it at minus 115 each way, basically saying they don't really have a feel on whether Stevenson's going to go over or under, so they price it even money each way, minus 115 each way. So it's not juiced towards the over or the under, which is DraftKings saying that they think this bet is a 50-50 chance of occurring. So DraftKings is not obviously closer to BetOnline and Pinnacle, but it's also not bad, right? It still has it at even money, which is exactly what we're getting it at. We're getting it at plus 100. So the fact that BetOnline and Pinnacle have it as such a wild favorite is obviously a good sign. And then we see other books like FanDuel has it as the favorite as well. So all in all, I think that this is a good play. This is an outlier to 2 of the sharpest sports books in the world. It's an outlier to the rest of the sports books as well that have it priced at the closest minus 112, 12 cents higher. So I recommend hitting this one on Betfred. Ramondre Stevenson over 4.5 receptions. The next one that I'm going to lock in is obviously related to that one, and it is Ramondre Stevenson over 35.5 receiving yards. So this is another play on Betfred. This one is at minus 115 odds. The OddsJam Novig line prices this at about minus 121. If you want to round up from minus 120.82. All in all, profit margin of 2.29%. Expected profit of 2.29%. Another really good play, minus 115 at Betfred. Now look where every other sports book is pricing it. Pinnacle, minus 141. DraftKings, minus 140. Caesars, minus 148. All of them are an outlier. And then what you can do is if you view this event page in a new tab, so for player props where it's a yardage total that's a little bit higher, you can not only see discrepancy from like an odds perspective on the actual play we are placing, which is this over, but you can also see where other sportsbooks have it priced at. So if you go to receiving yards, which is what we're betting for Ramondre Stevenson, as you can see, 31.5 is what PrizePicks prices this at. That's insane. PrizePicks is this column right here. That's insane. So I definitely recommend, if you're looking for a PrizePicks play, hitting this on PrizePicks, his over 31.5. That's a massive outlier. And then we see the other books that don't price it at 35.5 have it 2 yards higher at 37. And that includes FanDuel and BetRivers. So for whatever reason, BetOnline doesn't have a play on this market. But the fact that this minus 115 is an outlier at the 35.5 number, and the fact that the other sports books that price it have it at 37.5 show me that this is a really good play. So I actually like this one better than the receptions one. I think they're both worth hitting. This receptions one, I would put about $75 on, which is 3/4 of a unit for me. This receiving yardage one, I think is worth a full unit. I would recommend putting $115, $115 to win 100 on this one is what I would put on this for you. Risk to win a unit. So those are 2 player props, but it's not the last 2. So let me give this one a refresh. Always want to make sure that you're working with the most up-to-date lines. This next one that I want to lock in here is Isaiah McKenzie under 3.5 receptions. So he had a great game on Thanksgiving, but he's been not always a focal point of the offense. Obviously, that's Stephon Diggs, to a lesser extent, Gabe Davis, to a lesser extent, Dawson Knox and Devin Singletary. So this play, the Novig odds prices it at about minus 151. PointsBet is giving it to us at minus 145. So pretty gross juice here in terms of what the odds are actually pricing this at minus 145. But the fact that we are getting it, the Novig odds of minus 157, and the fact that every other book, just look where they price it. Minus 157, minus 185, minus 180, minus 179, minus 184. I get that the odds aren't great at minus 145, as I mentioned, but it's all about the value across the sports betting markets. So I'm okay placing a bet at minus 145 when the Novig odds have this at minus 151, when every other book except for Caesars has it in the minus 180s or minus 179. That's an awesome price at minus 145. So I think it's worth hitting. I think it's worth accepting. I would put a full unit on this one as well as my third player prop. So this Josh Allen one, I've actually mentioned in a previous video and already locked it in, but it's still available at plus 135 at PointsBet. So you can hit this one as well, $50. I'll just put a half unit on it. Novig odds price this at plus 132. PointsBet gives it to you at plus 135. Mathematically profitable play. And then the last one is this Gabriel Davis, over 3.5 receptions. So I think it says the odds changed on that one, but it still looks to be positive EV, plus 133 at Caesars. Look at the rest of the sports books. Pinnacle has it all the way down at plus 102, which is a little bit of an outlier in and of itself, but still BetOnline plus 117, 16 cents lower than Caesars. DraftKings plus 120. 13 cents lower than Caesars. So still a good price. I would put a half unit on this one as well. And that's going to be it. So I think that was 5 or 6 NBA player or NFL, player props for you guys to lock in for Thursday Night Football. And that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching and have a good one.